Oh yes, my Straight Talk family, it's time for me to say good night and welcome to another edition of Straight Talk. I should say good night, St. Kitts and Nevis. Good night to the entire Caribbean and good night to the world, because I know that we beam and stream all over the world, and in particular, we reach out to our Kittitian and Nevisian diaspora, those in Asia. There's some all the way in Africa, Europe, and a whole lot of you are all over North America. So I can as well say good night. I can say good afternoon, and I will say good morning, because one of such greetings will be applicable to the region in which you now find yourselves, somewhere across the world. And if you're joining me for the first time, I must say that Straight Talk is a public service program that facilitates and promotes free expression on all issues of national interest, be they legal, be they environmental, be they technological, social, economic, and or political issues. On Straight Talk, you do have a forum to express yourselves freely. Let's in the process continue to keep St. Kitts and Nevis as one of the freest countries in the entire world. On this program, we try to raise the level of national consciousness. We try to raise the level of national discourse by alerting our people to their rights, to their responsibilities, and certainly to their obligations. My name is Ian Patches Liburd, and I give Almighty God thanks for blessing me with yet another opportunity to join you in conversation on yet another occasion. And I want to say hail up to my Win FM posse as well, my Facebook and YouTube posse. Welcome all. Tonight, we have lots of things to deal with. There are so many things going on in my little beloved country. And I normally do my observations in review. And let me inform you, for those who did not know, that Parliament will convene tomorrow at the National Assembly downtown. The National Assembly and Parliament, same thing. It will be convened tomorrow downtown in Bastia at government headquarters. And according to the Cabinet Secretary, Dr. Nato, I think it's 3 or 4 bills will be tabled and debated tomorrow morning. These bills he outlined in his post-cabinet briefing.
The cabinet approved the domestic violence changes to protect victims of domestic violence and provide them with swift access to justice. The bill also allows victims of domestic violence or persons on their behalf to apply to the Magistrates Court or the High Court for protection orders. This will rectify issues raised with the Ministry of Gender Affairs that the cost of obtaining protection orders only in the High Court was prohibitive for many victims and their families. The Cabinet approved the Small Business Amendment Bill, which seeks to change the minister with responsibility for administering the Small Business Act and appointing the Small Business Development Advisory Committee to the minister with specific responsibility for small business. Previously, the minister responsible was the Minister of Industry and Commerce. The Cabinet approved the Companies Amendment Bill, which resolves a constitutional issue created by the 2021 amendment, which allowed for the permanent dissolution of exempt companies to comply with the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development and the European Union recommendations. The Cabinet approved the Evangelistic Faith Church St. Kitts Incorporation Bill. which seeks to give the Evangelistic Faith Church situated at the alley Sandy Point, St. Kitts, the power to own land and otherwise have legal standing. The Cabinet was satisfied that all of the legislative prerequisites for this private bill were satisfied.
Yes, my straight talk family, those three bills would be tabled tomorrow, hopefully, and debated. The Domestic Violence Bill, the Small Business Bill, Companies Amendment Bill, and the Evangelistic Faith Church Bill. Well, those are the priorities of the Jew Labor Administration, but some other time we will talk about that. I raised an issue during our last edition as it relates to the seating in Parliament, specific to the seniority, if I can use that word, of members who sit in Parliament. For those of you who joined me last edition, we spoke to the four most senior members in Parliament. For those of you who are joining me or hearing it for the first time, there are four long-serving members in Parliament. The Right Honourable Dr. Denzel Llewellyn Douglas, who is in Parliament, I think, for about 33 or going on 34 years. I think he started there, first elected rather, in 1989. And he's the longest serving member in Parliament. The second longest serving member in Parliament is Dr. the Honourable Timothy Sylvester Harris. He has been serving now for going on 30 years, just about 30 years. Then there's Sean Richards. I believe he's been serving for about 18 years, the Honourable Sean Richards. And he's followed by the current leader of the opposition, the Honourable Mark Brantley, who's been serving since 2007, I think it is. So that makes him 15 years. I raised the issue as it relates to the seating protocol, where the second longest serving member of Parliament was seated on the backbench. And I said that is wrong. And I hope the message would have gone to the Speaker of the Parliament, and trust and hope that that will be rectified at the sitting tomorrow. At the sitting tomorrow on the opposition benches, on the front benches should be Dr. the Honourable Timothy Harris. He's the second longest serving member in the Parliament. Of course, the leader of the opposition, the Honourable Mark Brantley, and certainly the current leader of the People's Action Movement and member from number 5, the Honourable Sean Richards. There should be no issue with that. That should be a simple, very simple issue to rectify tomorrow. And whoever's in charge, I believe it's the Speaker's House, so I trust that someone would have apprised the Speaker of this anomaly, and she would sort that out tomorrow, sooner rather than later. The second observation, I will continue to raise the issue of the CBI passports or the CBI economic citizenship, which I'm told, reliably informed, there are some 30,000 passports out there. I am not going to be a palace guard. The current Prime Minister speaks a lot about the CBI. He has not addressed the issue. He has signed, I am told, to this date, some 2,000 CORs, some 2,000 citizenship by investment applications since he has been in office just for 2 or 3 months. Prime Minister Drew has signed, I'm told, approximately 2,000 of those applications. So there are 2,000 more passports, 2,000 more citizens that are coming on board as St. Kitts Nevis citizens. This is an issue that must concern the citizens of St. Kitts and Nevis. As I said, I'll continue to say, we do not need to know their names. In some countries, there's a list provided, a public list provided, each citizen or each citizen's name can be found. In the USA, for example, I can go and check every single citizen of the United States once they have naturalized. We don't need that. All we need to know for a fact, Prime Minister Drew, we don't want to hear about the past. We live it in the present. We're going to fear not tomorrow because we've lived yesterday, but we're going to love today. So as we love today, we want you to be transparent as you promised to be. You spoke and you speak quite often about good governance. So all we want to know is the nationalities, their place of birth. We know at some time the former administration removed that field, the place of birth field, and you knew what the consequences were. So tell us, how many are from China? How many are from Africa? How many are from Iran? There's some Iraqis as well, we understand. And how many Nigerians? Well, I said Africa, so that will capture the Nigerians. How many are the different type of nationalities that make up the economic citizenship role? And we know as well that there are quite a lot of Russians that are living here, and quite a lot of Russians have joined or have participated in our CBI program. I am hearing that the Russians are going to invest in the expansion of the Newcastle airport. That is a state secret in Nevis. But if that is so, the Premier of Nevis ought to tell the nation that the Russians are going to expand the airport, I said Newcastle, the Vance Amy Airport, I should say. If that is true, we need to know. Because if the Russians are investing in the Nevis with the expansion of their airport, then it must be concern, must be of concern, I say, to our American friends. So that's a cautious step we have to be wary of. So these are my observations in review tonight, my Stray Dog family. And I'm going to concentrate on my thesis for tonight, which I've entitled Doctor Turned Politician, No Accountant. And my Stray Dog family, we have this medical doctor lecturing us in accounting. And it is quite amazing how a day in politics can be like a year. The government of the day had an easy ride into office as a result of the fading popularity of Team Unity caused by the infighting for leadership and for money. Yes, we recall the leader of PAM was fighting to become prime minister. He couldn't wait his turn. And the leader of the other partner, CCM, was fighting for money. He called it fair share. The demands of government and governing, however, at this time, seem more than Drew and his team can handle. And you know, long ago, I read a story in one of the newspapers. I think it was the Guardian, an international newspaper. It was about a professor who once trained this doctor and recalled the young med student telling him that as a doctor, people believed everything you said, but as a politician, nobody believed a word. You hear that? The professor recanted that his young medical student told him that as a doctor, people believed everything you said, but as a politician, no one believed a word. And I thought that this statement epitomized or adequately summarized the performance of the nation, the performance, beg your pardon, contained in the many rantings from our Prime Minister, or the performance of the Prime Minister are contained in his many rantings, that our people were forced to endure over the past 3 months. And it is troubling. It is troubling to me and to many, because the Prime Minister has what I call a condescending view that he and all his members of cabinet are experts. And he said that publicly. Would you imagine that?
I'm tremendously proud of this team. Various fields. Any field you might call, there's an expert here, somebody who is well versed in that area. Even more versed than me. And that's a good thing. So if I talk about sustainable development, you have Dr. Joya Clark. If I speak to youth and women affairs, you have Honorable Iselin. If I speak about small business and entertainment and agriculture, Honorable Samuel Duggins, well established. If I speak about energy and engineering and so forth, the Honorable Conway Maynard. If I speak about the law, it's a given for our AGS. When I speak about the tourism product and the advancement of labor laws and so forth, we have our learned Honorable who is a lawyer. When I speak about experience in government, we have our senior minister, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas. When I speak about education, and I mean, when you talk about empowering of the youth and community development, we have our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Jeffrey Hadley. And so this team is a serious team.
Yes, my people, a team filled with experts. They refer to themselves as the A-team. Now, the Prime Minister is a medical doctor, now turned politician, and was elected to the National Assembly following the last general election. I am told that he's a good doctor who studied medicine in Cuba and later went on to study internal medicine and graduated from Texas Tech University Health Sciences Center in 2013. In just 3 months, however, our Prime Minister has become what I call a national economic accountant. He has to deal with issues such as, or he has been dealing with issues, or has to deal with issues such as consumer spending, which is the Federation's primary measure of consumer spending or personal consumption expenditures. He has to deal with corporate profits, a key measure of the financial health of the private sector or the corporate Nevis. He must as well consider disposable personal income or disposable income, the income that's left after people pay for their food, their rent, electricity, water, the money that's left in their pocket after expenditure. He must as well consider the gross domestic product. And GDP is a comprehensive measure of the St. Kitts Nevis economy and its growth. And of course, he must consider what are the fixed assets of the government, the lasting assets owned by the federal government. And more importantly, he has to deal with the government receipts and expenditures from taxes, spending, and other transactions of the federal government. But our Prime Minister seems to enjoy running onto this radio station with a certain talk show host, one of those I call palace guards. One of those palace guards, I call them, who are afraid to ask real questions because they support the government. But even when the Prime Minister is asked simple questions, his answers are blowing in the wind. How many of us remember that Bob Dylan song, Blowing in the Wind? When you hear him respond to the questions, his answers are blowing in the wind.
Before it is washed to the sea. Yes, and how many years can some people exist before they're allowed to be free? How many times can a man turn his head and pretend that he just doesn't see? Oh, the answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is blowing in the wind.
Every time I hear our Prime Minister respond to a question, he reminds me of this song, as his answers just blow in the wind. And I have a friend of mine who is a medical professional, like the Prime Minister. And he strongly believes that accounting is a very complicated and boring subject. To Prime Minister Drew, however, accounting seems like the subject that excites him to the moon and back, especially when his politics close whatever he understands about the fiscal and economic situation in the Federation. He came to office intending to tackle the cost of living. That was his commitment. A few days ago, however, the price for gas at the pump keeps going up. It's gone up again. Each time you go to the grocery, every time you go to the supermarket, food gone up. But Prime Minister Drew promised to tackle all these issues. He did make that promise.
We want to deal with the cost of living. Food, that is going to be a priority area. The cost of fuel, that is also going to be a priority area, so that we can immediately start to deal with the cost of living of our people here in St. Kitts and Nevis. We have to deal with that. It is critical that we do that. Just recently we see the United States, I think they passed a law to limit inflation, or to, in a sense, to deal with the cost of living. We had been speaking about that even before, and therefore those will be our priority areas. How can we help our people by decreasing the cost of living, dealing with those other critical issues? And the other thing we're going to look at is to get our people back to work. So,
dealing with the cost of living, that's a commitment. But when asked, my straight talk family, when asked if the current state of the economy can handle those priorities, the medical doctor, now turned politician and accountant, said yes. He said yes. He said yes, the economy can handle all these issues?
Based on your economic team's assessment, things
can handle these things. Yeah, we can make the necessary investment.
Based on your economic team's assessment, the current state of the country's finances can pay for all these things.
Can handle these things. Yeah, we can make the necessary investment.
Yes, the current state of the economy can handle all these things he prioritized. The Prime Minister even boasted at independence that with his new government in office, the country is now stable. The country is now stable because of his new government coming to office.
My fellow citizens and residents, the state of our St. Kitts and Nevis is stable and hopeful. Our people are re-energized to work and to build this country.
Yes, he boasted of that. But Jew and his cabal, they found hundreds of millions of dollars of reserves in the government treasury, and they all went on a spending binge. They saw money and started to spend like a drunken sailor. They started traveling all over the world. At one time, five of the 6 ministers were part of a 24-person delegation that traveled to the United Nations General Assembly. Remember that. Ministers and their parties went to Romania, to South Korea, to Peru, to Washington, to Barbados, to Trinidad and Tobago, and the list goes on and on. Millions were spent at the former judge's residence at Beacon Heights to refurbish that property as the new home for the Prime Minister. Every minister now has a personal driver and a security detail. Are they afraid of the people? They are all enjoying life on the backs of the poor people who are struggling to pay their rent, struggling to buy food and clothing for their children. The members of the Jew administration are all on a frolic when most of the country must endure the rationing of water every single day. The electricity has now become unstable, and plans are now afoot to rent generators. But that, remember, is nothing new, as Labour did that before. Who will get the kickbacks is a question many are asking. No matter what you hear them talk about corruption. But before coming to office, the Labour Party promised many things. $500 for minimum wage, reduction of VAT to 13%, $15,000 for CBI dividends for each citizen, triple salary at Christmas. They promise all sorts of things. But suddenly, as the time rolls on, they have suddenly realized they cannot deliver on these promises. So they have started a re-registration at PAP, displacing so many people who need that assistance. The peace initiative is being revamped. Then all of a sudden, a bombshell announcement was made yesterday that no money is there. The country in the red. The country in the red. There ain't no money. Believe that?
We are in the red, dependent a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable, but we are very vulnerable at the same time. In the red, dependent heavily on CBI, and therefore we have to now chart a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable. But we are very vulnerable at the same time.
Distraction. But ask the question, did Prime Minister Drew deplete the hundreds of millions of dollars of reserves left in the government treasury? He don't answer these questions, but we'll ask him. So we asked him as well, are the IMF projections wrong? Because just last week, Mr. Adler, I think it was, of the Latin American Caribbean region, spoke to growth right here in St. Kitts and Nevis. Here's what Adler had to say.
You asked specifically about St. Kitts to the rest of the Caribbean, where the economy has recovered quite a bit this year. In fact, we project growth at 9.8 for 2022, helped by the recovery in tourism. Now going forward, because of the global slowdown that we are projecting, including in the US and Europe, we see this tourism weakening as well for next year. So growth we are projecting at the moment at 4.8 for 2023. You asked specifically about St. Kitts and Nevis. We see a dynamic in the country similar to the rest of the Caribbean, where the economy has recovered quite a bit this year. In fact, we project growth at 9.8 for 2022, helped by the recovery in tourism. Now going forward, because of the global slowdown that we are projecting, including in the US and Europe, we see this tourism weakening as well for next year. So growth we are projecting at the moment at 4.8 for 2023.
That's the IMF projecting 9.5% growth for 2022 and reduction to 4, I think he said 4.5% in 2023, next year. So why is Prime Minister Drew at variance with the IMF projections? But that story, strange but true, although he's saying one thing, he seemed to be corroborating the story. Because hear what he said in respect of the cruise, and he called them overstays.
The cruise tourism we expect to be, who has been working tirelessly hard to get the cruise tourism back and to get the hotel tourism, the overstays and so forth, back to where it's supposed to be. And so we will see some improvement in that, especially the cruise. We'll see a lot of improvement in that. With the overstays we might have, it might be lower than we would have had we not kept the country locked down, even when the scientific evidence suggested that we could have opened up.
So, my straight dog family, he's saying the country is broke. The IMF is predicting growth. But he spoke to overstays, and the immigration department need not worry, however, as there will be no overstays. In fact, we hope that the Prime Minister meant to say stay-overs. In fact, we do have overstays, but surely not in the hotels. So immigration department, don't you worry about that prognosis about overstays in the hotels. But you see, my people, Prime Minister Drew is a medical doctor, and he is a teacher as well. I don't know if he taught accounting, which is the process that analyzes, records, classifies, summarizes, and reports information. Governmental accounting, or government accounting, I believe one of them is right, or the right term, is the managing and budgeting of public revenue. It accounts for activities, programs, and other liabilities. The government is accountable to its citizens and taxpayers. Governmental accounting checks if revenue from taxpayers and businesses is utilized responsibly for the betterment of the country. It also applies to all public entities such as CASPER, NHC, Solid Waste Management Corporation, and SCELIC. And I believe in the investigations. He should investigate every single one of these statutory corporations. And I believe that the Financial Secretary has some responsibility to ensure that information comes to you, Prime Minister. I believe you should investigate SCELIC, not on the radio. Get the forensic audits or auditors, whatever you call them, in there. I don't know much about solid waste management. I know I got a bin free. CASPER was hurt by the lockdown. CASPER got no revenue because there was no cargo moving in the volumes as they did, and there were no cruise passengers or cruise arrivals. Solid Waste Management Corporation would have also suffered because once there are no visitors, whether by air or sea, they do not get to collect the environmental levy. However, there is a fundamental difference, my people. There is a fundamental difference between public and private entities. And a public entity wants no money left at the end of the accounting period. But I want to say as well, though, before that there is a distinction in terms of the crucial role accounting plays in the handling of the government's financial affairs, and it should provide accurate information related to the government's financial or fiscal practices. There's a distinction between government and private accounting. The government has fiscal accountability to all its citizens. The government is expected to be honest and diligent with the funds used, unlike the private business. They have to account to their shareholders. But, my family, the governmental accounting objectives include recording expenditure and revenue related to government activities. But I'm going to stop tarrying so long tonight and remind Dr. Joe that there is a Finance Administration Act, Cap 20.13, which is an act to provide for the control and management of public finance, for the operation and control of the consolidated fund, for the authorization of expenditures, and for the establishment of special funds and deposit funds, also for raising of money by the government for the management and control of the public debt and the giving of guarantees. They said you wrote a letter to the NIA. We don't know if you gave a guarantee and what is the guarantee for and how much. But it also speaks to the preparation of public accounts for the governance of statutory bodies. And my straight dog family, the minister must also know, Minister of Finance to the Prime Minister, of his responsibilities and of the powers vested in him by the Act. The Minister of Finance with the Prime Minister is responsible, underline that, responsible for the supervision, control and direction of the government's financial affairs and the management and control of the consolidated fund, the management of the public debt, of the investment of public money and loans and the advances made and guarantees given by the government, and he must exercise general direction and control over the Ministry of Finance. He must as well prepare the annual and supplementary estimates, and, very important, Prime Minister Joe and Minister of Finance, you must ensure that the full account of finances of the government is laid before the Parliament of the National Assembly, not coming to the radio and babbling, and giving answers that are blowing in the wind. Prime Minister, as a medical doctor, take your time. Understand your role as the Minister of Finance and Prime Minister. You've already turned politician, but please, don't try accounting. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. But you cannot be in the red when there's so much money in the Treasury. We heard it from the IMF in its report. We heard it from as well the governor of the central bank, Antoine. But you made so many promises, but you have signed 200 passports, 2,000 passports, 2,000 applications, beg your pardon. And that in itself, in your 2 months from the CBI, someone asked me where the money comes from, the CBI, you will have had $100 million in the Treasury in the last 2 months or 3 months. So, even if there's a deficit, and anyone would expect a deficit coming out of COVID, but there's money in the Treasury to service that deficit. That's my story tonight, and I am not going to change it. I'm going to go to the lines. It's 8:43. Entertain your calls. I'm going to entertain your emails as well. Remember, the numbers are 663-6672 and or 646-829-6672. For those of you who like the cloak of anonymity, you can access the program via straight talk patches@gmail.com. I implore you, before I open the lines, which I'm going to do in a few seconds, I implore you to respect others. And of course, to achieve that, you must first respect yourselves. Let us try to be fair to all concerned. Let us try to build goodwill and better friendships. Let us ensure that the things you say and do will be beneficial to all concerned. And in the process of doing and saying those things, let us strive to build a kinder, gentler St. Kitts and Nevis. That nonsense about the government in the red, because you can't keep your promises, is something the country is not going to accept, Prime Minister Joe. It's 8:45. I go to the lines. Caller, you're live.
Good evening, Patches. Hope all is well, sir.
All is well, my brother, and yourself. I'm peaceful. What about you?
Oh, good. What is it with the new Prime Minister, the new PM, running to his friend, from the hood, and bad-mouthing former PM Harris, and then running out to the studio? What is this about, Drew? I mean, come on. You want your friend in the hood telling them something about something with money and the money there? We thought you had all the money with all the traveling you did. So what's going on with this guy? He got to watch himself. The people going to turn on him. Okay? Get down and do your job. No. Wouldn't it be more professional if you went and called a press conference? I mean, don't you think?
Well,
Call a press
of
conference.
course, but he wants to go by his palace guard, I call them, they protect him.
Yeah, but you know where the station start with. But you got to your hood and telling them some little secret. That's labor doggish. Then run out the studio not to take questions from the people. This is childish, man. It's childish stuff. No. That thing that you was talking about with talk with our younger people, I know you was getting to, but that reverse talk stuff it's a Jamaican ghetto culture, a drug culture. Most Jamaicans don't talk like that. So that is something our young people have picked up. And this is sad, because there is only one English language. It's not 2-3 different types. Now look at the divisions. The divisions have adopted that prophetician English, No more of that, oh my God, oh. You don't hear the divisions talking that way anymore. I know, Carl, when I used to go to Nevis by my family, I didn't understand them. No, you can't tell the difference between a Kititian and an Nevision, because the Nevisians have learned to speak good English like Kititians. Okay? Now, one more stark warning I have, Patches. I spoke about that geothermal and its danger to St. Kitts and Nevis, right? Now, just to give you one, to let you know, give you one more stack information. I hope you know that all that water that is drilling there, causes cancer. Are you aware of that?
Which water is that?
That well water. The well water causes cancer. So I want you to, you guys got to remember, we got two changes. The stuff from Nevis and St. Kitts, the geothermal, and the well water causes cancer. So my people take note, okay? Now, one last thing, Patches. It seems as though that these guys can get themselves banned like Douglas did. Okay? Anyhow, Patches, I'll talk to you another time. There's a lot of things we got to talk about right here in this press. We want to talk about the wickedness that's going on in that courthouse. There are no judges in there. There are people in there not getting justice. But all the best to you, Patches. Have a good one.
Have a good one as well, my dear brother. Not quite certain about the suggestion that the well water is causing cancer, but I know that the water, as they call it, the potable water, is treated. It is a requirement of, I think, the PAHO, right? Treat all the water that's consumed by the public. But my Stray Dog family, it is 11 minutes before 9 o'clock. And we're looking at this, I call it nonsense about the country is in the red and we are now vulnerable. After all those, yes, we can argue and we can agree or disagree that the CBI is basically the only foreign direct investment that we do get in St. Kitts and Nevis. And we do have this kind of investors, and I hope we won't get that anymore, started in the Douglas era. Investors come to build. People came to invest in or on the southeastern peninsula, for example. You acquired land, Douglas, and gave it to the investor, your good friend. And then you pumped $43 million of our own money into that company's operations or investment. And that investor went to the National Bank, borrowed $60 million US, and never paid it back. Is that the kind of investment you are bringing? These are some of the questions that we are asking tonight. This message reads, let's go to the emails as I await the callers. Hello and good night, Mr. Liburd reads this email. I am a local engineer specializing mainly in environmental planning and associated issues. I worked alongside the international firm hired to carry out the contamination investigations at the old Bastille High School site at Victoria Road. The report was completed in 2019 and issued to the government over 3 years ago. If the site is contaminated, as reported, why is this present administration now talking about building a school or a new school there? I am puzzled and alarmed, reads this email. This other email reads as, and again the numbers are 663-6672. 663-6672 or 646-829-6672. Good evening, Mr. Liburd. Blessings. On Prime Minister Drew's first interview since taking office, he said the financial status was sound. Approximately 3 months after, he reported on a talk show that the government is in the red. A serious matter such as this is not for a talk show, but for the Prime Minister to address the nation via radio and television with facts. Stop playing to the gallery. Thanks again for presenting an informative and enlightening show. Continue to stay peaceful and safe. Reads that email. Thanks a lot for your intervention as well. This other email reads, it was so intriguing this afternoon to hear the Labour journalists Andre and McMahon in their biased, one-sided conversation trying to defend Prime Minister Drew in respect of the two public statements he made regarding the state of the public finances. Yes, on assuming office, he declared to the world, no doubt, surprisingly to him, he made plenty money in government that would enable him to purchase an MRI and etc. Now he wants to repudiate what he said about the financial healthy state he met. When he took office and traveling the world with small and large entourages going on an orgy of spending, to come back now to tell us the country's finances are in the red, and Andre, you especially supporting that, I don't expect anything different from McMahon, reads that email. And yes, if you just joined me, Prime Minister Drew went on a talk show with the talk show host, one of his palace guards, and he reported a serious matter about the country's finances. He went on radio to tell us, my Street Dog family, that the country is in the red. And the way he addressed the matter, it was so simplistic. But you ask yourselves, what is wrong with our leader?
Now chart a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable, but we are very vulnerable at the same time. We are in the red dependent heavily on CBI, and therefore we have to now chart a different course in order to make sure that St. Kitts and Nevis remain strong and viable. But we are very vulnerable at the same time.
My street family, strange behavior. Caller, you're live.
Hello. Good evening, Mr. Patches.
Good evening, my brother. Culture.
I'm good, man. I'm good. Your shadow. This is your radical shadow calling. You know, wherever you go, your shadow follow you.
Yes. I was the volcano, my brother.
Oh well, see, it's I got to throw some ice in it to cool it down with the climate change.
I've heard from my brother in Munster for a long time, and I haven't hailed my good family, straight dog family in Munster, just and hope that all is well over there in Munster. But
I haven't heard from him a long time too. Well, let me hear from some ardent listeners. Starting with my good friend up in your tongue, Sean. Aya, Frederick, Dimples, Alice, and who else again? Someone else, but anyway, I'll remember the name later. Oh, and Shefton. Good night, Shefton. You just really come out punching first. And I like when you come out. You're a brave soldier. We have nothing to fear. As long as you're speaking the truth.
truth, yes.
Truth. But when you're telling lies, then you got to be fearful.
True.
Now let me start with Mr. Prime Minister. Mr. Prime Minister, please. Everybody who happens to pass through your hand for medical treatment, they give a good account of you. They say you are a good doctor. You're very good. And I like that and I respect that. And I think that is where you should stay. Leadership is not for you in politics. Straight up. And I'm speaking because of the way you lead. You sound too arrogant. And you sound too vindictive. You sound like you got some kind of vengeance against Dr. Harris. And that is not a leader of a country. A leader of a country is supposed to speak on behalf of everybody. And if you want to attack your opposite in politics, the right place for that is in Parliament. Go up there, since the election is not close by. You and others used to complain about the team unity government, say that they don't want nobody to use the national radio station. Well, now the radio station is there now. Why should you choose to go on that private radio station where they condone a lot of wrong things and all they do encourage people to go up there and defame people's name and spread a lot of propaganda? Why do you choose to go up there, Mr. Prime Minister? Why you did not use the national radio station and draw the listening audience attention that you're going to speak on something? That is not good of you. And I don't speak it like I said. I don't have to fear no man. I fear God. I respect people, okay? I fear wild beasts, not man. Enough of that. When you went in office first, you were pleased with the money that you made in there. You were pleased. And then you're going to say now 3 months after that, you come in talking about country isn't red with money? Which red? The traffic light red? Come on, speak the truth and tell the nation what caused any truth behind your utterance that country isn't red with money. Country isn't red. You know what happened? Select people, they lead off like 1935 strike in Buckley's. And the strike in Buckley's 1935, it contagious the whole Caribbean. All because of that little demonstration in Buckley. Them man decided they want more money. And they refused to pay them and the strike. Well, Select started off because a lot of people supposed to get honorarium. And you know the pressure coming up financially to pay all those people
the honorarium. Every one of them who follow the protocol and try to protect people, especially people going in great numbers, they themselves need honorarium. But you see, you're trying to impress the people that no money there. So nobody has come and strike and say they want honorarium because the country is in red. It is not so. You admit a lot of money in there, and the money is supposed to be there. Not all. Because you raise up a lot, going to run trips and trips. Imagine one of them all the way up in New York, come home for a funeral for one day and then go back the next day. Where the money ain't come out of your wallet, that come out of taxpayers' money. Come on, man, come on, do better than that. You all had a lot of things, so you are going to do this, and they are priority this and priority that. Where we are seeing that. You can't do me nothing, I'm going to tell the truth. I've been talking for 44 years. 44 years on radio. Anywhere I live, I go on radio. Once the talk show is educational and I can learn and put in something in it. You are going to do what you got to do. So I don't see why people should afraid to talk. If they talk, are you going to do what you want to do? And if they don't talk, are you going to do what you want to do? Patches, I'll be back. Thank you.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Yes, I always implore you to speak the truth. But again, I have to go back to the old days. Under this administration, you have to be prepared to stand alone when you speak the truth. Only the truth can set you free. And when I listen to Prime Minister Drew about the country in the red, if the country is in the red, according to him, that's a serious disposition in which we can find ourselves. But it is a distraction. He don't want to pay the triple salary that he promised. He don't want to increase the PAP to $1,500 as they promised. They don't want to increase the minimum wage to $500 as they promised. Now he's in government and he's seeing the stark reality of how government works. He is still politicking. He is still campaigning when it's now time to govern. And as I mentioned before, I recall reading this story long, long ago in the Guardian newspaper, International Guardian. And this professor was recanting about a doctor he once trained, and he did mention that this young med student said to him, as a doctor, people believe everything you said, but as a politician, a doctor turned politician, no one believes a word. Caller, you're live. Thank you for holding. Hello, caller? Are you there, caller?
Good night, how are you?
I am peaceful, my dear.
I'm here.
Yes.
I want to tell culture. See in the class, in our class, the Prime Minister in. So, you have to say everything. Now, Mr. Liburd, I want to ask a question. The minister who name you just call out and on the tape, not the special. They was working in government already.
A minister?
We will just wait and see what they can do. Because the best Prime Minister was not doing nothing. That's what they're saying. They're young and new. Labour is Labour, they can't be new. 20 years ago and now. Who gave the okay to sell the passport? 10 men in one? I know it's capable, sir. Remember, they don't want each other. I see some white men and see what they come to do. If the investors own money, why thinking about Timothy? Go and look for them. That's what they come to do for good. That's what they come for, to get out of the red. Give it an injection and stop things. Mr. Liburd, when I speak about the goodness of the question, everybody of Timothy Harris, everybody know how good he was. Lord, man. And when I talk, they like to come on and radio and talk about, who talk about it good? They talk about it good. And I'm listening tonight, they come on and talking anything to make you to believe that they truth here and going on other radio station and calling down the man and then know the man good. These just come on. What they expect, they don't do right now. Just wait and see what they will do. Don't think and then people to talk how Timothy was doing good. They cut him. I will come back. See you. Even other players.
Thank you very much. And for those in the diaspora, there is an overseas number, 646 829 6672. I'll take a call on that number now. Caller, thank you for holding.
Hi, Patrice. Good night.
Good night, my dear. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
I am peaceful. I am peaceful.
Okay. Now, it's almost 120 days now they're in office.
No, not so much.
And that's
not so much.
It's almost, I say, because it's 3 months. This year it was August, September, October, November.
Yeah,
so the 5th of November gonna make 4 months.
That'll make August. That'll make 3 months.
The 5th of August. Yeah, 3 months. Yeah, August. Yeah. Anyway, what happened that the time is drawing now for them to do what they promise, and all of a sudden now the country is in red. Who paid for those when they went away on the honeymoon? Who isn't the treasury the money come out to pay for these activities what they're doing when they travel?
I hope so.
Turn around, they paid those who didn't take the vaccine walk off from their job when they had a choice. Where did they get that money?
From the treasury.
All right. Then he give honorarium, and everybody want honorarium now. So now the country is in red.
Well, you believe
No, I don't believe it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I do not believe it.
I don't understand accounts.
The ages said God said that they raped the treasury.
Yeah.
So who raped the treasury now? Who raped the treasury?
Yes.
So you gonna come out and say that the country is in red? Huh? Next month is Christmas. People want their money. They're looking for double salary.
The second pay triple.
Turn on again. When they was campaigning, they said that they was going to give the PEP. I think Timothy they say 1,000. Douglas said, "What is 1,000?" 50.
1,500. Yes.
Can't to dumpling. I can't to dumpling. Could you imagine that?
Yes.
Could you imagine that? And now coming on to Christmas, this is what you're going to send out and tell the people that the country's in red? So that means don't look for nothing.
That's exactly what they say.
So something is going on. And according to culture, if the country is in red and you want to speak to the nation, how many people listen freedom? Go on ZIZ and special report from the Prime Minister. Everybody pay attention and give out what you have to say. Let me know what's going on.
Sure.
Let me get it. He said because it's not everybody listen to the station that he was on. So I have to tell I heard such a thing. I mustn't put it on. I mustn't put it over exactly how he said it. But when he go on ZIZ and say special report from Prime Minister, everybody pay attention and you get it firsthand. So he had to come back with something else again because I do not believe the country in red. Because I think he said country was doing well. But you know what happened? Couple days before, when Douglas was campaigning before the Labor Day, Douglas come on and say, the top will disappear and the peace program will disappear. He said to them, whenever you're talking, you must talk fast and talk hard. So that means nobody will be able to listen, to understand what you're saying. Anyway, Patrice, you have a good night.
Have a good night as well, my dear sister. Thanks for your commentary or intervention. And again, for those in the diaspora, I see someone trying to call me on the local line with an overseas number. Well, we can accept your call there, but it's much cheaper if you call, I believe, the overseas line. So make your call a little cheaper. The overseas line again is 646 829 6672. I'll go back to that line. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening.
Good evening, my dear.
Everywhere he went, he was doing good. He's a mighty healer. He cleansed the leper. PLP. Cleanse the leper. Don't bother with them. I got to talk about PLP, the good man team.
Okay.
You have a good night. See you when I see you.
Have a good night as well, my dear. I'll see you when I see you. It's now 12 past the 9 o'clock hour. We're looking at the doctor who turned politician and now pretending he's an economic accountant. That's what I call it. But there has been several rantings from our Prime Minister. And our people were forced to endure them over the past 3 months. And he goes on this talk show, don't accept calls. He goes and he's protected by his palace guard, I call him. And they have this, what I call, is condescending approach. Because he himself believes that every single member of his A team is an expert. And he said that himself. And he is the main expert. Hear what he said.
In various fields. Any field you might call, there's an expert here, somebody who is well versed in that area, even more versed than me, and that's a good thing. So if I talk about sustainable development, you have Dr. Joya Clark. If I speak to youth and women affairs, you have Honorable Iselin. If I speak about small business and entertainment and agriculture, Honorable Samuel Duggins, well established. If I speak about energy and engineering and so forth, the Honorable Conway Maynard. If I speak about the law, it's a given for our AGS. When I speak about the tourism product and the advancement of labor laws and so forth, we have our learned Honorable who is a lawyer. When I speak about experience in government, we have our senior minister, the Honorable Dr. Denzel Douglas. When I speak about education and when you talk about empowering of the youth and community development, we have our Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Jeffrey Hanley. And so this team is a serious team.
Yes, a serious team filled with experts, according to the Prime Minister. Perhaps too many experts. Let's go back to the lines at 9:15. Caller, you're live.
Patches, good night.
Good night, sir.
Oh, listen, that means if the country is in the all right? That means if the country is in the red, that means the guy in Nevis is not going to get no fair share. And I think he already given money. Isn't that so?
I didn't hear the last part of your question.
Didn't the guy in Nevis get some money from
Yes.
the Jew?
Yeah, budgetary support, they call it. I think it's $5.5 million each month.
Okay, I know. So is he going to get any fair share with the country in the red?
I believe I'm not certain if I caught it, but I believe he promised to ensure that Nevis gets its budgetary support still. So, and he's traveling on a matter of fact, he's traveling with the Premier on Saturday or Sunday. The Premier.
Yes. So how could the island be in the red when these guys going up and down around the world? And then a statement like that. Why don't you go on the national radio station of the Prime Minister and make this announcement? Why can't he do that?
Well, because it's a serious matter. If the country's
okay, so why you keep going on that station by his friend Ike? Ike can't even ask the proper question. And the kind of question we want to hear, you know what I mean? For people to ask him, Ike can't ask those questions.
Well,
Ike have experience. Ike is not like that. Go on, brothers, and answer to the people. Let the people ask the question. He runs into that radio station and then run out. Run in 15 minutes, talk a bunch of garbage, and then run out, gone. And then he could be talking a bunch of nonsense as usual. These people ain't ready. You ain't ready. Come on. You got to act up and be a man. Good night, Patches.
Good night, my dear brother. Quite assertive, to the point, clear and concise, and I was minded to invite him to straight talk. Right? We can sit. I normally ensure my guests are well protected. We'll have a discussion before going live on the media. He can tell me the issues he do not want to raise, but I would want to raise all issues. But if he says he comes here and he don't want to talk about the passports, then I won't ask him about the passports. But he's welcome to straight talk. Come on, the real media. There's no palace guards here, but we need to know what's happening in the country. And some time ago, I referred to what I call the metaphor I used was snakes in the government. And it was a metaphor that I used to signal or to alert the new Prime Minister Jew that there are hidden dangers. And I encourage him to chart his course around the unpredictable climate, the submerged rocks, the coral reefs that could wreck the ship of state. And these are what I refer to as the snakes in the government. As a matter of fact, I even forewarned Prime Minister Jew that sooner or later he will have to deal with the big snake in his cabinet. And we know that snake. I remember when the outcry came from the attendance of a particular investor as part of the team, the Prime Minister's team or delegation that went to the United Nations General Assembly. And he threw his foreign minister under the bus. But this is factual. It is a fact that Dr. Jew, as head of the delegation, in fact signed the letter of invitation to that same investor. But let's go back to the lines at 9:20, 20 past 9 o'clock. Caller, you live.
Okay, Cassius.
So,
yeah, some people think that everybody dumb and stupid, including me. I am dumb because I was the dunces out of the brightest dunce in the class. The dunces out of the brightest dunce in the class. So don't expect me to understand and comprehend anything. A lot of good English. They used to criticize you and say that Timothy got you and government radio station, national radio station, every Monday and every Thursday, crossing people. That is how they put it, you know. Now the station is free. And he freed it. Go there, man. Do like Dr. Simmons. When Dr. Simmons went in and he's on the destination, he used the national radio and TV. Douglas do it. And Dr. Harris do it. Why he freed? Why he freed? That is, the old saying say that talk is cheap. But when you go in the shop and you look up on the top shelf, you see up there, the whiskey them up there. You take money to take them down from up there. Take money. And they send 2 generators. The other month, they think they go and they say they send them go repair. And I hear them say what it cost to repair them. Where the money gonna come from? If money never in their house, they would not send them to repair with under the kind of cost what they say. So what do you mean? That money there, the generator them gone with all the money? They gone with it? And he said nothing been done, no investment for the past 7 years when the unity government was in office. Well, the man who come in and he get $43 million, so he come to invest. Well, when you come to invest, you're supposed to come with the money, not big talks. But you see what happened? Them investors will come in here, what you call investors? They come in here economically malnourished with a load of rich, vital talks, and then go in our local bank, borrow our money, and go and say they go invest. Go invest in our money. They ain't doing nothing for the country. Nothing at all they're doing. They can't live up to the threat. Dr. Harris is an accountant. He knows how to accumulate money. And he knows how to stock up money. Not raise money. You want to study medicine. He's very boss in that. Stick to that. A blacksmith cannot go in a house to be cabinet. Out of board. Because he's not boss in that. He don't make mistakes. And he going to spoil the people them thing. Anyway, I got something else to say, but I'll come back if nobody else come in.
Thank you very much, my dear brother. Yes, someone just said that the overseas lines are not working, but that's not correct. I just had 2 calls on the overseas line, but the overseas line again is 646-829-6672. I just entertained 2 calls on that line, so please feel free to call it. 646-829-6672. And for those who are listening to Win FM, the only numbers that you can access the program by locally is 663-6672. So please stop trying to call the Win numbers. The only number locally that you can access the program via is 663-6672, or overseas it's 646-829-6672. This email is Andre Huey, come on and stand on your 2 feet. Be straightforward when posing your question to the Prime Minister. What stupid question you want to involve us in? The foolish remark you made telling him you are only asking because the people are saying Dr. Douglas and yourself do not have a good working relations. Don't use us as any scapegoat when you want to ask the Prime Minister a hard question. Try and emulate Stephen Saka on BBC, Hard Talk, if you really want to be a professional journalist and not one who demonstrates fear and cowardice, reads this email. This other email reads, Dr. Drew, no dilly-dallying or no dilly-dallying around with our accustomed double salary in December. Dr. Harris has set the trend with 5 double salaries, no turning back. Dr. Douglas campaigned in 2015 that double salary was out of style and your Labour government will be paying a triple salary, December. Therefore, don't come now in the last shower of rain to tell us the economy is in red to justify your reason not to pay us. You have to pay double or triple for we are looking forward for it. Harris left that there. Reads that email. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you are live. It's now 9:26.
What you say about the line? If you call, what kind of line?
663-6672. That's the only line you can access the program.
Oh, I thought it said 46 something, then you get in.
No, 663. I'm sorry, 663.
Okay, what I want to ask you, who the AG was hired by?
The current AG?
Yeah.
Well, he was appointed by the current Prime Minister.
If what?
He was appointed by Prime Minister Joe.
Oh, now?
Yes.
Oh. So that's why he coming on TV saying about the amount of people in one constituency is too much and it needs to change. And all the people who come to cheat the election, cheat. They could not be Timothy and they know. They have to cheat. I don't care. But I could talk. I went to school Friday night. I don't know when culture went, but we went Friday night. And it need to change. And all the people who come to cheat, vote all over. I hope it will change for true. And who will come back to vote will vote where they was living. Only talk. Cheaters, Timothy will go down as the best Prime Minister. Why change what you need? Stop changing what you need. Continue to see the higher people see how good are you be. If they're traveling together, the two person will just call. What he will say in the house, which side he will be on, and stop turn away people. They want to walk. And the Timothy, they was walking here and he never turning them way. Put your people on the top, everybody know that. And let the poor people them walk. Say you have a good night, get home safely. It's Alice in Wonderland.
Alice in Wonderland.
And all who just meet me and say, I don't hear you and I don't think. They don't hear me. They just pay me phone bill, me paying it. See you. Have a good night. Get home safely.
Have a good night. Alice in Wonderland. Have yourself a good night. I go straight back to the lines. Caller, you are live. It's 9:28.
Patrick, good night.
My dear brother, good night.
Patrick.
Yes, my brother. We're listening to you, Jam Down. Okay, you probably need a top-up, John Brown. Patches, I for one thought Labour had the best candidates, but now realize I was so wrong. The Prime Minister is a joke, but they say no ball for who are go, or who are come, reads that email. This other email reads, Patches, I was listening to the Prime Minister yesterday, and the things he was saying. He said the country is in the red and in a deficit, and he painted a picture that things are so bad. But he also announced some things he plans to do, like increase the housing stock and eradicate poverty. That one made me laugh. This guy is just full of talk, and no action. He didn't even take questions. He said he had to go to a meeting, always making excuses. The same thing he did the last time he was there. He said he had to go to school meeting, and Patches, all the schools were out by midday. Everyone was home. Well, reads that email. It's now some 9:30 to the bottom of the hour. I go straight back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening, my dear. Hello?
Hello.
Yes, you're live.
Hello, Alice.
Hello?
No, one.
Just turn your radio down. Could you turn your radio or equipment down?
No.
Just turn your radio or your equipment down, can you?
Yes. Hello.
How are you?
Good evening, Hello, Patches.
How are you?
Good night.
That's my good friend.
I cannot get you, but now I hear you on the radio, you know, answer your phone. But I understand that the bank development bank not getting nobody alone right now. Because everybody in the red. But I want some kind of money.
Everybody in the red, you say? Who's in the red?
Hello?
Who in the red, you say? Can you hear me? Listen to your phone. Don't forget your radio. What did you say? What you say now?
Hello?
I'm asking you to repeat what you said.
I want on the show.
You're on the show. You're on the show.
Yeah, but he reading email.
Who's reading? No, I'm not reading the email. I'm listening to you.
Huh?
I am listening to you. Forget your radio. Just listen to your telephone.
Yes. Good night, Honorable Patches.
Good night.
I'm calling you on my cell phone. I ain't answering your phone. But I understand that the development bank now getting the money because everything in the red.
Everything in the red.
Yeah.
You believe the doctor?
So here. They said he told me so, but I was sleeping. And when I wake up, somebody call me, tell me so.
Wow, so
but he asked another different thing, yeah?
You believe him?
Right, how he tell me now? Because they got a lot of people, when I win abuse, they got all kind of people now, they put on who are in abuse. So you come in again in the politics now. Politics no sweet.
You done with politics?
Hello.
You must
hello.
Yes,
Patrick.
yes, my dear.
Yes, good night.
Good night.
I call you on your cell phone and you not answer.
Send me a message. Send me a message. You send me a text or something or WhatsApp.
Yeah, let me. Yeah.
Right?
I call you on my cell phone and you not answer.
Well, when you calling me 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock in the night?
Not so. I call in the morning and so.
You call me in the morning?
I want to organize the thing. Right? Yes. But I hear another thing. Okay. But they said development that invest and everything. I don't know where to go. Because when everybody was campaigning, everybody was looking money and they ain't getting the loan. So I asked the people to say loan that development bank could get the money. So I said that development bank has so anyway, so I don't know. So somebody tell me so when I wake up. They say that development bank and everything in the red. But I want to know how come they're in the red. I don't know, because everybody was getting loan and everybody was getting present. Me ain't getting none.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Have yourself a good night. But don't believe.
Yeah, but I say everybody was getting loan and everybody was getting present and they ain't getting none. So I want to know development in the red and they ain't getting no money.
Okay.
And don't forget to call me because I want to talk to you serious because you ain't answering your phone. Okay. Because you're married and me not married, do not answer your phone. See you. Have a good night, drive home safely.
Okay,
see you.
Okay, my dear. Oh, yeah. Have a good night, my dear. My good lady.
You take care of yourself, Jojo.
Okay, thanks a lot. You take care of yourself as well. Right? That's. I'm sorry about that. I thought you were finished, my dear. I'm sorry about that. But the number again for that lady sent me that message. The overseas number is 646 829 6672. The local number rather, is 663 6672. So both numbers end with 6672. So that's very easy to remember. And this message reads, where did the money come from to pay the frontline workers if the country is broke? That's a good question, very straightforward and to the point. So, do not believe. Do not believe. Because, as I said before, the IMF projected growth for 2022 and reduced growth for 2023 in spite of the inflationary winds that are blowing all across Europe, all across North America, all across the world for that matter. But the members of the Jew administration all went on a frolic. They joined what seemed to be the Flyers Club, I think they call it. Ministers went to Romania, to South Korea, to Peru, to Washington, to New York, Barbados, Trinidad and Tobago. They went all over the world. They traveled all over the world in these big delegations. One party was a 24-person party. That too went to the USA. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Mr. Patrick.
How are you, my dear brother?
Yeah.
How is the Bible man?
The Bible man is alright. The Bible man need to sack them.
Oh, yes, I haven't got them for you as yet, my brother. I'll sort them out for you as soon as possible.
Yeah, the Bible man need to sack them.
Yes.
The Bible man need to stretch your foot upon the bed there. I was reading Psalm 37 today. It said the steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. But when you do the thing that is right in the sight of God, not this is a man. And listen here, I can tell you something. If I said not really tonight, believe this here. Do not deceive. God is not mocked. Whatsoever man is soweth, he also reap. If the prophet what goes around, come around, and it come around harder. And I'm telling you, I just listen the station them. But let's get on the next one. But listen, I'm telling you, God loved the poor people. And when you are going to pressurize the poor people, God is going to deal with you, Mr. Patrick. Because he said, think on them. Blessed is the man that considereth the poor. In the time of trouble, the Lord shall deliver it. Mr. Patrick, you stay strong. God have you there for a purpose. You stay strong. And why you do what is right in His sight, God is going to lead you. Have a pleasant night, Mr. Patrick.
Have a pleasant night yourself, my dear brother, the Bible man. You take care of yourself, my brother. Let's go back to the lines. Yes, caller. You're live. Hello, caller.
Good evening, Liburd.
Good evening, sir.
And good evening to the listeners from another Carl Brown here.
How are you, Carl?
Mr. Liburd, let us set it in straight and forward how it is. For the past 7 years.
Just for a moment, Carl. I'm not hearing you too clear. Are you? You have a radio or something on?
You hearing me now?
That's much better, yes. Go ahead, yeah.
For the past 7 years, the critics of the unity government find that unity did not do anything good at all. But I will say to those critics, old labor, new labor is the same dirty labor. And as the time goes on, the people will see that this labor is the same old dirty labor and continually to lie to the people of the world, not only the people of the Federation, but of the world. Right? What I can do and can say to this government, all the years on, the 7 years on the unity, they keep calling for honesty, accountability, and all kind of things. Well, we now are calling who did not vote for Labour, who are not supporting Labour, is calling for accountability, stability, truthfulness, and honesty. And if the way that they are going at this moment, if they continue that way, we are going back to the polls under 3 years. I will say this, some ideas and suggestions now in terms of agriculture and tourism. I am saying to the Agriculture Department and its new minister, for all these stray animals up and down the road, we need a branding program with the 3 initials of every farmer name and the constituency that they live in. So when anything happens, you know that this is Ian Patrice Liburd or this is Al Franklin Brown animal, so we can claim something for the damages. The other thing about these 3 animals, we can open a local zoo with all local animals. The other thing about these animals is that Patrice in the 70s and the early 80s, people never used to complain about all these 3 animals because they had mountain rangers, they had people setting traps that will kill or seriously injure these animals, and the owners of the farm will eat them. And these people land never fence, and they never get in all these fencing wire and all these fancy gadgets that they have now. Everybody land was open. And people produce plenty food to feed the neighbors, feed people abroad, and feed people in far villages. And they are never fed. Now we have all kind of things that the Agriculture Department give and help with the farmers them, but yet they're still balling. The thing is, the government, the government of the day and of the past and of the present is not serious about food security. It's a joke when you hear them talking about that. It's like when you're watching Tom and Jerry, you just laugh. Because if it's serious about food security, you will bring back a pound in every constituency. With Mr. Liburd, you will have agents go out, latter, catch all these stray animals and put them in the pound. Charge these farmers a heavy fee for hosting and storing these animals, because it will teach the farmers that you have to tie, tend up, and secure your animals properly, not causing havoc and destruction to people's crops and people's homes and property.
Okay. Got you, my brother.
Right? Yeah. And also, it will save our country to provide food for our citizens and people abroad. If you don't do that, Mr. Liburd, in a year or 2, we will be watching the monkeys and all the other stray animals running wild in a grass area. The people who are in farming for all these years that we respect will run out, because we are not serious about getting rid of all these animals
and making them consumption for the citizens and residents and visitors that come to our island. And we need a local zoo to also come and to help with all these stray animals. That will help the tourism industry, help the federation, and help bring in foreign investment financially and local investment financially. If we don't do that, Mr. Liburd, let us call agriculture, grass, bush, and monkeys. Because we seem to love the monkeys more than the human. And if we have an election, Mr. Liburd, the monkeys will win with a landslide. And even in opposition, the monkeys will be the opposition.
Okay. Got you, my brother.
Gone.
Thank you very much for your input tonight. And as usual, I go straight back to the lines. It's 13 before the 10 o'clock hour. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Seem to have lost that call. It's 13 before the 10 o'clock hour. In the event you have just joined me, we focus tonight on the strange announcement by our Prime Minister, to use his words, to it that the country is in the red. Whatever that means. He said the country is broke. But let's go back to the lines. I'll take this call and get back to you. Caller, you're live.
Hello?
Yes, you're live, sir. Caller, you're live.
Patches?
Yes, Major, why don't you turn...
Yes, let you stop and talk. Let you talking so long.
Turn your radio down. Turn your radio down. Nobody's talking.
Yeah.
Turn your radio down. Turn your radio down.
It's down. You hear me?
I'm hearing you loud and clear. Fall in.
You ready for me then?
Yes.
You ready for me then, eh?
Fall in, Major.
Okay. Patches, I'm listening to you. It's like anybody else. But when I hear, I look into my Bible, right? And I thought I should share this with you. If you check in Titus chapter 3 and verse 1, it says, let us continue to reminding us to be obedient to government and the authorities. Then when you go down to verse 3, it says, for we too were once senseless, disobedient, and because of our disobedience, we led astray. You understand that?
Yep, I'm listening.
Because, I could understand. We are big people. And we have to respect governments. We don't care what they be. They say they put us there for us to educate us. If they're doing stupidness, we have to tell them what we have to say in it.
Somebody disrespect the government? I don't quite understand. Did someone disrespect the government?
No, not really. But I'm just saying, because I am not saying that nobody do it. Okay. But it's likely possible that someday we hear some people chatting. I won't want to say foolishness, but it just has to disrespect. I am not saying that nobody disrespecting government, but it seems as though it may come up irrespective of what government in power. We have to respect them, ain't it?
Of course, you respect them.
Yeah, because as it says, when I listen to Titus chapter 3 and verse 3, when it says, for we too were once senseless, disobedient, and we led astray. Because we want to say what we like. We can't do that all the time.
Which version that you're reading, Major?
Read that in Titus.
Yeah, but which version? Which version is that?
That is the St. John version. Because if you realize,
I like the King James version.
Oh, you like this? All right.
Ourselves were sometimes foolish.
Yes, okay.
Deceived, serving diverse lusts and pleasures. Living in malice and envy, hateful and hating one another.
Yeah.
Okay. But
You see what you see, because if you realize when you go down further, you find that Jehovah, that's his name. People call him all kind of name. They call him Yahweh, which is causing a lot of things. But in the term, which in the country that they live in. But I know that Jehovah is his name, and we have to be careful now, man. We can't let the leaders straight. I mean, I don't understand what's going on. I don't know what's going on. What do you think going on, Patrick? The world, we know that the world is not perfect. We know that the world is not perfect. But we can do something. We can't fight ourselves, man. Every time, so. And some of the people that on the way, they're disrespectful. You don't find it up. Even you sometimes want to know what they're behaving like that. Me too.
Well, the people are assertive, and they have a right to be. You are in a democracy.
Democracy?
That's one of the ills of democracy.
Oh.
Thanks a lot, Major. Thanks a lot, Major. Thanks a lot.
Okay, take care.
Thanks a lot, Major. Major Jones. We go back to the lines. Are you there? Oh, are you there, caller? Are you there, caller? Hello, caller. Okay, I seem to have had my lines all tied up there, but sorry about that, callers. I thought I had a caller on hold. Forgive me. Please call back. This message. I'll take this call. Caller, you're live. Hello, caller. Okay, seem to have missed that call as well. Okay, this message reads, Patches, people should not be surprised. Red is Labour's color. So when Dr. Juice said that the government is in red, he's talking about the party's color and not the government's financial situation. Let's go back to the lines. Caller, you live. Hello, caller. Hello, caller.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
You're live.
Good night. Good night.
Good night.
Good night. Huh? Yeah. You ready for me?
Yes, you're live.
Okay.
You have a radio.
Good night,
on? You have a radio.
No, sir.
I'm hearing a feedback, so something got to be on.
Mr. Jones, Major Jones speaking too.
Major Jones.
Major Jones. Okay, anyhow, good night, Mr.
Good night, sir.
Liburd.
Good night, sir.
And good night to each and everyone who listen to the voice of Straight Talk, the culture, Alice, Jandong, and many more names I could call. I wanted to each and everyone have a pleasant good night. And I wanted to let you know that your madam in West Farm said, whenever she calls you, please answer.
Okay.
Please answer your madam, please.
Okay,
and there's the next thing I like to say, right?
You know her well?
My whole, huh?
You know her well?
Yeah. My good friend.
Okay. All right.
I heard the number 4 Prime Minister, which is Joe, speak and say that persons who are on the front line, you're going to see that they're being paid. People on the front line, you're going to see that they are being paid. But I would like to know those persons over at TDC who refused to take the vaccine and was terminated from the business of TDC. Did the government pay the TDC employees? That's the question that I would like to know. Even someone could.
Well, he said they paid they made a gratuitous payment. That's what he called it. After the lady claim on the Labour Department. But he's confused because one time he said he paid them because they were wrongfully terminated. Then he changes his tone or content the next time around. So, and that's that seems to be coming familiar with the Prime Minister. One time he talks this, the next time he changes it.
But Mr. Charles Wilkins QC, who is a member of the TDC board, says that as long as the company has something in place, there's nothing you can do about it. Mr. Charles Wilkins QC said that the policy was put down by the TDC that if you don't take your vaccine, you have to leave the company. And I don't see why this number 4 Prime Minister said that he will see to it. They will pay the frontline workers, but still look after the TDC workers. What are he telling us? That's why the country is in red? He should inform the Commissioner of Police, get the names of all persons who was asked to work during the COVID and had to be on the road because they had to have an ID to prove they are working in this company. Like you have the Pinky Mall security officers, you have the AN support, which is Casper officers, you had nurses, you had the from the commissioner to give him all of the names and then come and explain to people well what he will do and what he's not going to do. You just can't come out and say he's going to see to it that all frontline workers being paid.
Okay.
And no TDC, some of the TDC people is laughing after those who put out themselves in the COVID. It ain't get a happening.
Okay, got you, my brother.
So you all need to push it and let people know what's going on. You have a pleasant night.
Have a pleasant night as well, my dear brother. I'll take a few more calls. The local number is 663-6672. 663-6672. Caller, you are live. Hello, caller. Are you there, caller? Are you there, caller? Hello, caller? Yes, you're live. Yes, you are live. Sounds like Alice in Wonderland. You're live. Okay. This message reads, somebody fooling me. Some weeks ago, he said money was in the treasury. Now he comes back to say no money is in the treasury. Reads that email. Patches, this government just don't want to keep their promises. Like the minimum wage and the PAP, especially the PAP. Every day the price for food in the supermarket's going up. Poor people need help now. Stop the talking and traveling and look after the people. The Prime Minister was asked if he planned to go to the IMF. He said no. So where is the money going to come from to do all these things? He said he's going to do, like replacing all the generators, increasing housing stock, MRI machine and so on, when the country is in the red and in deficit. Who is he trying to fool? Reads this emailer. That's a pertinent question that we've addressed all night. Remember, the governor of the central bank, Antoine, said this, I think it was in 2019, he spoke to the reserves.
Shocks will come. Control. So the question is, how do we best position ourselves to cushion the effects? A couple of things. One of the first areas that we really encouraged is building fiscal resilience. By fiscal resilience, some of you will refer to fiscal responsibility. Essentially, it is what our parents and grandparents did. Set aside something for a rainy day. The sun may be shining, but it will not always shine. Rain days will come. And so we have been encouraging countries, encouraging our governments to set aside something so that in a period of downturn or economic difficulty, the government will be in a position to spend more and to help cushion the effect on the people.
And that was the recommendation of the governor of the central bank, Sir Antoine. Let's go to the lines. Caller, perhaps take this and make this my final call for the night. Caller, you live. Hello, caller.
Hello, okay.
Yes, my brother.
Something wrong is you cars coming in, Patrick.
All right, make it fast because I'm out of time.
Yeah. You still on the ear. You still coming through. We're hearing me coming through.
Yeah, go ahead, jam down. You're live on radio.
But me hearing it, Patrick. You're talking.
You're not hearing me?
No.
How are you answering if you're not hearing me?
No, I mean on the radio. I hear you talking.
Yeah, but talk to the telephone. Talk to the telephone.
You're talking to the telephone.
Yeah, I'm out of time, so make your point quickly.
Well, what I really want to talk about, Patrick, is the way how Dr. Joe put over the thing. Because you got to be careful, and these guys can't take poor people like we're so foolish, We're foolish, We know that Timothy Lee money there. And he got to understand that I tell you all your clock that is the bar set high. You all set the bar high since I went there for 7 years, And these guys are not able. That is here next week, here.
Okay, man.
Right now we're going to come by. We're going to see people on this road balling the warm activity. What you see.
Okay. Thanks for your input, my dear brother. My lines are lit up. I'll take one more call if you can be guided by the rules of brevity. If you can use a few seconds, I'll take this call and make this my final call for the night. Okay, I've seemed to miss that call. But my Straight Talk family, we looked at the doctor turned politician and now parading as an economic accountant. And now he claims that the country is in the red. But the Prime Minister and his cabal found hundreds of millions of dollars of reserves in the government treasury. But they went on a spending binge, like drunken sailors, traveling all over the world. Ministers went to Romania, South Korea, Peru, all over the world. Every minister now has a personal driver and a security detail. They are all enjoying life on the backs of the poor people who are struggling to pay their rent, to buy food and clothing for their children. The members of the Joe administration are all on a frolic when most of the country must endure the rationing of water. Right now my water is locked off. I'm sure yours is as well. And this happens every single day. Electricity has now become unstable. And plans, he said, are afoot to rent generators and buy 2 new generators costing $70 million US. Where the money is going to come from if you are in the red? And who will get the kickbacks, we are asking. Before coming into office, the Labor administration promised many things: a $500 minimum wage, reduction of VAT to 13%, $15,000 for CBI dividends, a triple salary at Christmas. But suddenly, they cannot deliver on these promises. So they have started a re-registration of PAP. They're either going to mend or amend or append the PAP. The peace initiative have been suddenly being revamped, but suddenly we are in the red. Did you deplete the hundreds of millions of dollars reserves he found in the government treasury? What about the IMF predictions? Are they wrong? He said the immigration don't need to worry. Or I'm saying the immigration don't need to worry because he's expecting cruise passengers and overstays. But if, in fact, we hope that there will be overstays, let's take these stayovers. But accounting is a process. But the Prime Minister must understand that he, as the Minister of Finance, has a responsibility, will come soon, to give a full account of the finances of the government, and he has to lay it before the National Assembly. But I say, no doctor turned politician and now an economic accountant can fool the people in this country. That's my story, and I am not going to change it. My time is done, and I've got to run. My Straight Talk family, I want to thank Almighty God for guiding our conversation tonight as always. I want to thank you, the callers. I want to thank you, the emailers. I want to thank you, those on Facebook and YouTube, those on social media, those on the Win FM 98.9 who listened as well. I want to thank all of you. Remember, you are the ones who make Straight Talk, and for that reason, I say a big, big thank you. I am in Patches Liburd, and God's spare we will connect on Monday. So have yourselves a wonderful weekend. Remember, whatever your mind conceive, that you will achieve. But first of all, you got to believe. So when you wake in the morning, thank God for the morning light and thank Him for taking you through the night. And my Straight Talk family, keep moving on. Bye-bye until we connect on Monday.
The morning, I thank God for the morning light. Give Him thanks and praises for taking me safely through the night. For the rest of food and loving care, and for my mother's breath of life that's got me here. So whatever my mind conceives, that I will achieve, you better believe. I do the things I should, be to my brethren kind and good, the best I could. So I'll keep moving on, I won't stop now. I'll keep moving on, till I reach the top somehow. Down on my knees, the Lord I kneel and pray, my heart and soul, beg Him to take me through each day, my guardian to keep.